Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another spotlight interview with Global Thought Leaders, an initiative by RightSource Global. I am Zishan Pathan, Director at RightSource Global and a Council member of Global Thought Leaders. Along with me, I have my colleague, friend, and a Council member of Global Thought Leaders, Heval Mehta, Chief Growth Officer at RSG. Global Thought Leaders is a platform for industry stalwarts to cross-pollinate with each other with their experiences, thoughts, ideas, best practices to inspire each other and future leaders. Through spotlight interviews, we strive to build a community of eminent personalities together from across the globe. We collate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by proliferating brains in a nutshell. We bring the expertise of various functions, roles, and sectors together on one platform to inspire future leaders. And we have one such industry stalwart today on Spotlight with us, Mike Singh. Mike is doyen of the telecom industry in America and Europe. I request Havel to introduce our today's eminent personality who is renowned face globally. Over to you, Havel.
Well, thank you so much, Zishan, for this fabulous opportunity. It's an honor, trust me, to introduce Mike. And yeah, we've been speaking with Mike for quite some time. And fortunately, today we have an opportunity to uh, speak, to learn more from him, to understand a lot from him today, from the spotlight. To begin with, Mike Singh is a chairman and CEO at Telecom Caribe, United States of America. He is a globally recognized thought leader and a regular presenter on issues of relevance to the global ICT sector with a special focus on mobile convergent communications, growth in the emerging markets of Latin America and the Caribbean, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. He is highly sought after his expertise by such global industry leaders as CNN International, BBC, Deutsche Welle, CBC, Al Jazeera, the Financial Times, Fortune, and Bloomberg. To date, his global speaking engagements have taken him far as the UAE, Senegal, Rwanda, South Africa, Russia, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, China, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, France, Spain, Germany, and of course, throughout the Caribbean Basin. In 2008, 2010, and 2017, he was the only invitee from the Caribbean Basin to have participated in and also addressed the prestigious Fortune Global Forum held in India, South Africa, and China, respectively. Well, I'm sure we all will learn a lot today from this fabulous Spotlight interview with Mike Singh. Welcome, Mike Singh, to the Spotlight interview.
Thank you. Namaste. Salam, namaste. And good evening to you all there in my ancestral motherland of India, country that I hold dear to my heart. As you know, as I've said, my entire blood bleeds the Taranga. I love India, and I'm always honored to be amongst her great sons and daughters, even though I'm 4 generations removed. Well, 3 to be exact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to have you, Mike, on the spotlight today. So, Mike, every story that we cover, it has got some inspiration behind, and there is always an unheard story behind every story that we cover. And the same thing we would like to know about you, and all our viewers would definitely like to know about you. So, people today are inspired by your success, your journey. However, we would really like to know what really inspired you. What has really driven you to achieve this fit today?
Um, my journey has simply been one that began with the story of my ancestors moving to British Guyana from India in 1858. I'm the proud descendant of a Rajput family that took up arms against British colonial rule in India in 1857, supporting Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi. In fact, I come from a family that has its roots in Gwalior in present-day Madhya Pradesh. And some of my other ancestors came from Jabalpur and also from Multan in Punjab in present-day Pakistan. So my history is one where my ancestors were forced to move in one form or the other from Mother India all the way to British Guyana, going back to 1858. Now, if you fast forward, with God's help, with hard work, thrift, and a focused approach, they managed not only to survive, but to thrive. My grandfather himself was a pandit, a Hindu priest. So I grew up in a home where my grandparents were humble shopkeepers. They ran a grocery. So I learned the importance of why it's important to be respectful to others, customers, fellow villagers, persons in the nearby mosque, persons in the mandir, in the nearby churches. So I was always embedded with the Gandhian philosophy of respect, kindness, tolerance, diversity, and inclusion. And those are the important values that were passed on to me that I took and with me to shape my life. I grew up in a home without a telephone, without a television. All we had was a huge Grundig radio. There are even photos of me as a young child tuning the radio to the BBC. To this day, I love the BBC. So listening to the world from the BBC, having not had a TV, but a great library. So all I could do was to comfort myself by reading as many books as I could. I read about Columbus. I read the Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln at the age of 12. And growing up in Guyana in those days of, I call it the lost decade from 1975 to the mid-80s, when Guyana underwent a period of hardcore socialism with import substitution, banning of basic food items, shortages. I had to be innovative in keeping this mind of mine active. So I immersed myself in being a regular visitor at the local library built by Andrew Carnegie. And I read every book I could, from the history of the English-speaking peoples to the Bhagavad Gita. To this day, I think I could take you to that library and show you where you could find these books, because I was such a voracious reader. So my journey has been one of humility, sacrifice, focus, and commitment. With God's help, along the way, I was able to leave Guyana and get a better education, and most importantly, being able to marry the girl I fell in love with. And I think she's been the most important driver in my life. I've been with the same woman since I was 18 years old. And I would not trade her for anything in this world. So sometimes in life, you need to find yourself a good partner who will have the same values, the same ethos, the same outlook. And don't forget, in this journey of life, the common people along the way, because my late father said, the greatest good you can ever do is to lift another human being out of poverty. So a lot of my life success has been embedded in the lessons of life I've learned from my father, my mother, my mousie, my relatives, and many good people along with my way. My teachers at school, I'm still in touch with the teacher that taught me when I was 10 years old. And I'm very big on enduring relationships with people. And I believe that you must always find time for those that are less fortunate. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in running ahead, we forget about the common man and woman. And in life, you don't take anything, Zishan. So it's important to always anchor yourself in strong values of respect, integrity, compassion, and tolerance. And I reflect upon the biblical saying of being your brother's keeper. Irrespective of a person's station in life, you must never discount he or she. You never know where you will land tomorrow. You may need that person's help. And people are all the same. Anything we have in this life, Zishan, we're mere custodians. We're not taking it. Are we taking anything? You must be happy and thankful for what you receive. And I reflect on some of the ayahs of the Quran and the amal, about the importance of amal, doing good deed, right? Being kind, being generous, even if it's a kind word of encouragement, even if it's to offer a glass of pani to someone else, or even if it's just to say hello, helping a blind person to cross the street. No human being must ever believe they are on the perch of infallibility, because one day God can snatch it all from you in one swift second. So we must be anchored in humility, in random acts of kindness and compassion. What makes me better or worse than another human being are your actions, your behavior. We're all God's children. None of us are taking anything. And I reflect on Gandhi's philosophy: the world has enough for your need, but not your greed. Look at this era of COVID. No one can say they were not affected. I feel so sad for India. So many people have lost loved ones. The whole philosophy of saying you have 200 suits and 200 pairs of shoes is all bogus. The whole world needs to be reimagined according to Sam Petroda. We need a new dispensation. We cannot continue like this. And I thank God for my success. I've come a far way, but I could not have done it without, as you say, Bhagwan, Allah Ta'ala, God's grace, God's mercy, and the support of so many people I've met along the way. So my success is not pivoted, or it's not only because of me. I met many good people along the way who encouraged me, who opened doors, who were kind enough to listen to me, who coached me, who mentored me. But at the end of the day, I had to be strong enough to say, these are my objectives, and I have to stick to them. I had no other choice. I was not born with a gold spoon in my mouth. I had to work hard to find my way, to chart my own course, but at the same time, forever cognizant that I had an overarching moral responsibility to help others who are going along the same path and who may not have had the good luck, the good breaks, or even the bardan, the blessings, the amal, the sawab that I would have had. So I thank my success, I lay it squarely at the foot of God.
Wow, great. That's really inspiring. In fact, I am feeling, and I was feeling like I was getting goosebumps now when I was speaking with you, when you talk about, every principle that you have learned throughout your life from all the great books that you have mentioned, and the great people that you have mentioned, that you have interacted and passed, including your school teachers, right? So, Mike, this journey is a multi-decadal experience that you have, right? So what are the top three challenges you have come across, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I faced social underdevelopment because I didn't have a telephone or a TV So I was part of the whole analog divide and information divide, because if you're growing up in a home, we were not poverty stricken, but in a socialist society, everybody felt the brunt of underachievement, of difficulties. This is why to this day, I have such an ingrained intolerance for socialism in any form, not only socialism, but communism as well, because it's a spineless and godless institution. It is a ruthless philosophy that favors a select few. I believe every person should be given a fair chance. Through your own efforts, you should be able to prosper. Create an enabling framework, an enabling environment where everybody has a fair chance. But the outcome of the results is based on your individual effort, right? You can't be slacking off working 2 hours a day and get the same result as someone that's working 12. That's patently dishonest. And I abhor things like wealth redistribution and those things. I suffered under socialism, communism as a young man. And to this day, I still see how it's impacted the lives of my peers. I grew up with them. Many of these people have not progressed the way I have, but I still reach out to them. They're still my friends. I still help them in some small way I can. But I was part of digital. I mean, there was no digital network. It was not even a dial tone, a POTS line. The first time I saw the home I grew up in, that we got a telephone, was when my nanny, my grandmother, she barely lived to see we got a telephone in the home. So I was part of social underdevelopment, social exclusion, because in those days in Guyana, if you didn't have a telephone or a TV, maybe some people think you didn't matter. And I've walked that, I faced that. But you know what? It made me a stronger person, because I have walked in the path of the poor. This is why to this day, Dishan, my heart is always with the poor, because I once walked their path and I know what it is to have been in their situation. So not having a TV, not having a telephone were huge challenges, right? In fact, for the 1 year when I was separated, my beloved wife had, we were both students. She had gone on to Canada to study. I was still in Guyana. And I like to tell the story. All I could do is write her a letter every Friday, take it to the post office, and put on the stamps and mail it. Sometimes she will get 3 or 4 letters the same time, not knowing which letter was written before which. So, snail mail. I was, that's all I had. There was no internet. We didn't have a phone line. There was no fax. But today, my nephews, my nieces, my cousins, they all have the latest Android device, Apple device. I've ensured that I've given all of them smart devices. So they're never the victims of social underdevelopment or a victim of digital constipation. So I have come, if you want to call it the Stone Age, I have walked that path. And this is why I'm so proud of my beloved India, which I believe is the Mecca, the hotbed of innovation. The next Google, the next Microsoft is not coming from the West, it's coming from India. India is no longer a victim of brain drain, it's brain gain. 2015, to 2025 is the decade of realization, according to Dr. Jagdish Sheth, one of my other close friends at Emory University. So I'm excited. I have been to India more than anyone else in my family. I came to India in my days when AT&T was setting up what is today V. It used to be Tata, Birla, AT&T, and Rajan Matthews and others were all there. So I'm very pleased to see India doing so well. You have so many great companies, Airtel, which I have huge respect for, because Sunil, SBM, and the team built that from the ground up. So in many ways, what this quantum leap in India's development, in the whole digital infrastructure, it showed how prepared India was with the COVID. And we in the telecom sector, we've saved the world, if you want to look at it this way. And with bandwidth demand growing exponentially, you're going to see giggy rollouts in many countries and in even Guyana and many cities in the US. So for me, not having, these things, once I got it, I made a pledge. I'm never ever going to be left behind. And I went to AT&T as a young adult, begun my career, and I thank God every day for that great lady who hired me, gave me an opportunity, and I thank God for AT&T. I've learned so much, such an amazing company to have learned, to have traveled the world. I must just say I'm fortunate and I thank God every day for those things that I don't ever want to take for granted.
Great insights, Mike. I'm sure the viewers will definitely enjoy this conversation because there is a lot to learn from every answer that you're giving to my question. Right. Well, um, Mike, you have mentioned about various things that you've incorporated in your personality, right? Well, what are the key highlights of your personality which you think have added value to your growth?
My friendliness. I'm very friendly. I'm very open with people. I don't ever sit on the perch saying I'm the CEO. I'm I am Dasrat Maharaja. No. I always believe it's important to be humble in life. I believe humility, kindness, respect, compassion, think, thinking about others. Try to put their needs ahead of yours and never think that you're better than people. We make that error. Wealth clouds us. We achieve material things and then we suddenly believe we are God. I have this, I have that. No, it's got to be yourself. Remain true to yourself, to your values, to your ethos. Remember from whence you came, because in a flash, all of this can change. So I say, I owe everything. I'm a friendly person. I'm the first that will reach out and help someone. If, you know, when I eat with my staff. Whatever I eat, they eat. They're my fellow human beings. We work together. I treat them like family. And, I have an open door policy. Anything they need and I have it, I give it to them. But one big, I believe I'm uncompromising on is integrity. You must always be honest and truthful. Even if you make a mistake, you come to me and say, Mr. Singh, I've made a mistake, I made an error. That's fine. It's human to err. But don't ever lie to me. Because if I find out you're lying, it becomes a different issue. Once I lose confidence and faith in someone, not even Jesus Christ can change my mind. I give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to do everything for you. But if you violate my trust, my respect, I see you being disrespectful to anyone, women, orphans, beggars, poor people. No, I would not tolerate that. I operate with some very high moral standards and values. Money I can make anytime, but I'm not prepared to compromise, the integrity, respect, honesty, sincerity. I'm very big on sincerity. If you can't do something for someone, be honest. Don't lead people on. It's not nice, and don't think you're better than the other person, because, you treat people bad and karma will come back to haunt you. I've seen this. I've seen the mighty have fallen. I'm just thankful to God for the most important thing is my good health. People sometimes don't understand. If you don't have good health, Sishan, everything else is zilch. So always thank God for your good health. If you have a good wife and a family, that is important. The other things will come into place. Because if you have your core values, that is the foundation of your success. Pesa is like water. It will come and go. I don't ever want anyone to respect me because of money. I want them to respect me because of my humanity.
Great. In fact, the principles and the values that you have mentioned while communicating now on the call, I would say are reflected in every conversation that you do with us and every conversation that you have done so far with us in past as well. So, Mike, I am the true, you can say, a witness of everything that you have mentioned now, which would really help our viewers. So, Mike, in your journey, you would have taken various initiatives, right? So, which transformational initiatives taken by you helped you contribute to the success of all the companies that you've worked with?
Sishan, I think the most important thing I've done is being respectful to my team, being kind, being compassionate, treating them as an extension of my family, and being thankful for having good people, taking into account their viewpoints, their feedback, doing my own due diligence and being focused. You have to have what I call an intentional commitment. If you're going into something, Zishan, don't do it unless your heart is into it. You have to be immersed. You have to be 1000% committed. There are going to be peaks, there are going to be valleys, there are going to be bumps. But you cannot give up. You have to keep going like the Energizer Bunny. Many people who've met me have said to me, I can leave. I'm incessant. My father-in-law used to call me the hammer. He don't give up. He keeps hammering away. Look, the woman I married to, it took me 6 years to convince her to say yes. So when it comes to determination and commitment, I'm not a guy who's going to quit. Most people will hang up their hat. You see, I'm a Rajput. The word surrender is not in my vocabulary. I'm going to do everything I can to get to that goal, but with the highest integrity, respect, and commitment. I'm not someone that is going to give up. I cannot afford to give up. I cannot afford to fail in the grand sense. And I will suffer setbacks. I've done. I've had setback, but you know what? I get off, I brush off my sleeves, and I keep going. Because I believe once you have life, you have hope. And hope springs eternal. So my advice to any young person out there, you're going to meet many people along the way who will say, you can't do this, you're this, you're not good. Those are naysayers. You can, you must, you will. With God's help, failure is not an option. Remain true to your beliefs. Be kind to the common man and woman along the way. Be true to yourself. If you say something to someone, or honor your word. Always protect your good name with your last drop of blood. If you've worked hard your life to create a good brand and a good name, do not on the altar of short-term rewards or expediency compromise those values. Because once you've lost your good name, Zishan, you've lost everything. Money will come, money will go, but your good name and your reputation must be sacrosanct. People must always know you as a person of the highest integrity, as someone, there are people who tell you we don't like Mike Singh's style. He's very blunt. People know where they stand with me from the word go, because I don't have any hidden agendas. I put my cards on the table. I can live with a yes, I can live with a no, but never with a maybe. I'm not a fence sitter. I take a position based on principles. I'm not stubborn. I will reach across to the aisle to others if it's in the interest of the common good. I believe in working for the common good of humanity and all mankind, irrespective of race, color, creed, class, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, because I believe in every human being, there's some measure of good, for we are all God's children and we are linked by the common thread of humanity.
Great, Mike. In fact, there's a great learning on the conversation that you did just now. Um, I must mention the pick of the day. I would say the ultimate pick of the day for me would be never give up, right? So something which really would help the future thought leaders as well, right? So, Mike, you also invest in various organizations you have invested, right? So, during this COVID period, how are you evaluating the organizations for investments? What are the key factors considered for investments currently?
Well, I think broadband connectivity should be brought to the masses at a reasonable price. Nobody should be digitally excluded. And home in Guyana, I have been taking the position we need to build an infrastructure and bring connectivity to the masses at a reasonable price point. Because of this COVID, many people, they've lost their jobs, they can't send their children, there's no physical school, their children have to do e-learning. So in Guyana, I believe we need to have an initiative like the Akash, get low-cost tablets, get it to each and every school child, and all the service providers, with the government especially, can come together and provide a subsidized service for bandwidth to these homes of the poor, the socially vulnerable. Why? If we do not address the issue of learning this COVID and post-COVID period, I hope, we're going to have a huge gap, learning gap. And with Guyana, you know, on its way to becoming, they say the Dubai, I think we should be more like the Abu Dhabi of Latin America. We have discovered here over 10 billion barrels of oil and gas. But we need to ensure our human capital is being constantly harnessed and, you know, nurtured. Otherwise, you're going to have a society of people who don't have the skills to move up the value chain. And the focus must continue to be on agriculture because food security is important. We have a limited window, 20 years, to get from where we are, as a new oil and gas producer, to exploiting the carbon deposits, fossil fuels, but that's a limited window because the world is moving towards renewable. It's inevitable because of climate change. And in fact, about 2008, I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. He's on the board of Reliance, former chief scientist of India, Dr. Mashalka, I think that's his name, and in Atlanta, at Emory University. And he gave a great speech and he talked about the importance of safeguarding the planet, that man's survival was in peril because this is what Dr. Mashalka said. He's a member of the Royal Fellows in Britain, learned man, former chief scientist of India. And he spoke about the dangers of the survival of the human species. This was around 2007, 2008, when Dr. Shet had a very important gathering, and I was invited at Emory University in Atlanta. And that really dawned upon me that, you know, climate change was inevitable. Look at India, the big player in the International Solar Alliance. Guyana is signatory to that. We are just above the equator here, as you can see, lots of sunshine. And I don't think we've even begun our real journey as yet in tapping renewable energy. So we have a limited window to transition, but renewable energy is happening. And the 20-year window we have, we need to invest in infrastructure, renewable energy, you know, the downstream sector of oil and gas. But this is not going to last long. This is not a finite resource. It is a finite, I meant, not an infinite. And so we need to have a basket of energy mix, but we must focus on our agriculture. We must begin the whole ecosystem of a startup Guyana, which I am spearheading. We're in discussions about launching a 200+ acre technology park. And this, to me, Zishan, inspired me by the work I did with Startup Village India in Kerala. And thanks to my friend, Chris Gopalakrishnan, who is a co-founder of Infosys, I served on the board of Startup Village India in Kalimashri in Kerala. And I was so amazed. So much brain power, so much gyan, so much creativity with young people in India. So I've kept that blueprint, and we hope to start that very soon here in Guyana. Because if we don't nurture our human capital, we can become a victim of Dutch disease. And I think the current government recognizes that, but we need to move fast, speed, like Usain Bolt, you know, because if you snooze, you lose. You've got to keep the momentum. We have 20 years, but don't think of it as 20 years. Think of it as 20 days. So we need to move with a sense of urgency. The same speed that India grew in terms of mobile adoption, mobile communication devices in the 90s and 2000s, we need to move that with that same speed and sense of urgency.
Well,
So
I must
I'm able.
acknowledge, yeah, I must acknowledge, Mike, these are wonderful insights and initiatives and thoughts that you have given. And that logically brings me to another question, and which is of great interest to many youngsters into the country, right? So, Mike, the aspiring future thought leaders would like to be guided to avoid mistakes in their career path, right? And getting that guidance from you, Mike, would definitely be a value add. So, can you throw
Oh,
some light on the mistakes that future thought leaders must avoid aligning their goals better?
um, Rome was not built in a day. That's the first thing. You can't become Richard Branson in one day. You've got to, first of all, focus on your education, your gyan. This is going to help you to develop the skill sets, situational awareness, nuance on how to tackle the world. And you can't just be a bookworm and an academic wonk. You've got to get out there, put your feet in the water, you know, jump in and learn. If you fail, it's okay. But there are some learning lessons from failing. There was a filmy Rocket Man, Ranbir Kapoor. I always enjoyed that movie. That guy never gave up, you know. I think he was working like a salesman, right? And he was sleeping in the office. And I tell any young people, if you watch Western movies, there is a good one called Glenn Ross with Jack Lemmon. It's about sales. Um, when the guy was complaining, he was not being given the right leads, and he was an older guy. And if he didn't get the sales, he was going to be fired. I think, you know, there's some truth in these things, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So you've got to understand this is a journey. It's going to take some time, but you have to keep plodding away, you know. In Guyana, there's a saying, one dotty, meaning a brick or a piece of mud builds a dam. We have that saying. I think it could have been maybe some kind of Bhojpuri inspired saying, you know, by the old Indian people. But I think what they are trying to say is every day, you know, little by little, if you move this piece of mud, this little brick, eventually you can create this. So you've got to be cognizant, I say, of your reality, where you are in your age, your life. You know, there's no free lunch in life. If anyone thinks you can stand with a tari under the, you know, tari, the, you know, the religious thing for pujas, or a calabash, as we say in Guyana, under the sky and think manna is going to fall, give me a call. It doesn't happen. You've got to roll up your sleeves. You've got to put in the effort. If you don't put in the time and the effort and make the sacrifices, you will never achieve your goals. So you've got to be willing to work hard, to remain committed, to remain focused, make sacrifices, and remain true to yourself. There are going to be obstacles, you know, but nothing good, Zishan, is achieved in life if you take shortcuts. If you make money through dishonest means, it's not blessed, it will disappear. If you take shortcuts, eventually you might end up like the Champlain Towers in Miami, sadly, which collapsed and killed so many people. So you've always got to focus on doing the right thing, not some of the time, but all of the time. And sometimes people think if they take shortcuts, no one will know, Nobody will know. Yeah, yeah, you might take shortcuts, but eventually it will cost you a whole lot more. So I'm a big believer in total quality management, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, being prompt, being punctual, being prepared. Don't come into a meeting unless you've got your thoughts together. You have your notepad, basic things. I see many young people think, oh, it's a digital era. If you go to someone for a meeting, please go on time. Respect that person's time. Forget your mobile phone and tweet and Facebook and WhatsApp. You can always get back to that. But if you're going with your notebook, take proper notes, emphasize, recap with that person, because he or she will show that you are paying attention and you value. And if you say something to someone, follow up, follow up, follow up. You must follow up with people. Even if you don't have the answers, don't have them in a state of suspense. They can get that from watching an Imran Hashmi movie, uh, or some movie. They have enough suspense there in Bollywood. They need your commitment. And because they're waiting on you for an answer that could be impacting on their business. So you must follow up. Follow up is important, right? Listen to what your customers, what your clients are saying. A lot of time, people are not listening. You have to do real listening. Because a lot of the answers you're looking for are contained in what they're saying to you. And it's important to cultivate personal relationships with people. Just don't think, oh, because this guy is selling lotas, he has nothing to help you with. I would like to know everything I can about the lota business if I had to. How do you get the clay? At what temperature you heat it? What is the process? So it shows you're showing an interest in his business and you're trying to learn, because none of us have all the answers, and that's the mistake people make. I'll give you what Israeli General Uzi Dayan once said to me, the nephew of Moshe Dayan. He said the Titanic was built by experts, but the Ark was built by a novice, Noah. He told me that. Said the Titanic was built by experts, but the Ark was built by a novice. So along this path, you're going to meet many people, and I think every person you can learn from, however insignificant their job is. Recently, I went into a locksmith in Guyana, and I learned a lot about him from locks. And you know why I keep going back to that lock shop? I had a suitcase that I couldn't open. I went to them the first time. They opened it for me, free of charge. I said, how much do I have for you? They said, sir, it's okay. We're glad to help. Because of that random act of kindness, they have my business forever. I only go there to cut keys, get anything I need done. So it's very important, I say, to honor what you say to people, to follow through with them, and you need to be on top of your game. Tomorrow starts today. What you can do today, do it now. Don't leave it for mañana, because time is precious. We don't know if we're going to live to see tomorrow. So always be cognizant at, we have a commitment to others, because without customers, you don't have a business. So sometimes people forget the importance. So customer care, customer service should be everyone's innate responsibility. For instance, if someone comes to see me and they ask something, They'll never say, oh, that's not my department. They say, sir, please come. I have someone here who I believe can help you. Never ignore your customer, because if you do, they're going to take the business elsewhere.
Well, Mike, I really love the objectivity with which you have explained all the avoidable mistakes, right? Whether it is, focusing, giving commitment to your work, listening to your customers, right? Everything that you have covered. And in fact, you went to the minutest of the minute details of also explaining the importance of notes taking when you are meeting someone, right? So I really love the way, and I'm sure all our viewers will really enjoy this conversation. Well, Mike, we are building this community of global thought leaders for cross-pollination of knowledge. What are your thoughts about this initiative that we have taken?
I think, well, you, Zishan, you're in your own league. They talk about in Virat Kohli. He's yet to meet you. You're the Virat Kohli of this thing. And Heval, I mean, India is a cricket crazy country. We just had the Pakistani play the West Indies here. I was hoping the West Indies would have given them a good beating, but the rain was in their favor. So the 3 matches were washed out. And I think what you and Heval are doing is excellent. This is the kind of thing we need. And this is the kind of collaboration the world needs. People want to hear from others. I'm not, I think the only thing I'm an expert on is encouraging people. Many folks have said, perhaps I lost my true calling. I should have been a professor, a school teacher. But I enjoy helping others, young people, old people. I'm always happy to render advice. And I think the work you're doing is marvelous. You interviewed one of my friends, oh my God, long time, Manoj Kohli Saab, Kohli Bhai. Manoj and I go back a long, long time. His days at Hutch, he's the same person. He takes my calls. He's always in touch with me. He's done so much with Airtel, with SoftBank. I think you all are just fortunate to have him. I can only follow in Manoj's footsteps. I see Manoj as a dear brother, a dear friend. Same with Sunil Bharti, Int'l, Rajan, and Rakesh. These guys built their business. They didn't inherit a huge legacy like others. You have to admire them. I'm kind of sad about Vodafone ID, because AT&T had put so much. I hope they find a good buyer. I've been reading about the deal with BSNL. If I had any say, I'll recommend AT&T to buy it, because AT&T is a great company. I read Kumar Mangalam Berla buys, say he's not investing any money, but we cannot have one dominant carrier in India. We need to have at least 2 or 3 for pricing, for quality. I'm not supporting any oligarchy, one network. Give people choices, because it brings out the best in terms of service delivery, in terms of quality of service, in terms of value for money. And Make in India is very important to me. I think Apple is making now in Chennai, Nokia is there. I don't know what Micromax is doing and some of the others. I haven't been to India in a while because of COVID, but I've got my suitcases packed and ready to hit the next flight to India, with I call her my Begum, my Biwi, Begum. I call her Begum. So, I am really looking forward to coming soon to India, a nation that's very close to me because of my ancestry, but because of my work, because of the experience the many friends now, Heval and yourself. Looking forward to meeting you all. I'm happy to help you. I like to expand Right Size Global into these parts. We have got huge demands for the services and solutions you render. And I'm standing by to roll out the red carpet for you all.
We will be honored, Mike. We will be honored.
Trust me, it was very interesting spotlight interview. Uh, all our spotlight interviews, we learn something really unique, something really new from all our guests. But today, I really loved the entire conversation, the way it was structured. The conversation was around humility, it was around sacrifice, it was around commitment, around focus. These are the things that make a true leader, I would say, and a successful person. Rightly,
Thank
Zishan
you.
mentioned, pick for the day for him is never give up. So that's the same with me as well. And we have some fabulous spotlight liners today. Respect and be kind to your team. That takes a leader to the next level, I would say. There are many people who have fear of failures, and because of that, they don't try new things, right? Rightly, Mike mentioned that learn from your failures. It's okay if you fail. Learn from your failures and ensure that you don't repeat those mistakes, what you've done. Right. I really like one line of Mike, and I've really noted that, and that's going to be fabulous, and it's going to remain with me for quite some time. I would say that if you snooze, you lose. So always stay active, my friends. Be kind, be humble, and respect your team. A lot of things to learn from today's spotlight interview, and we really thank Mike for being so honest, so humble to us, and have given all the answers with complete honesty, I would say. So thank you so much, Mike, from Right Source Global, and thank you so much from the entire family of Global Thought Leaders for coming up today and giving us your valuable time. And it's been an honor to speak with you today, Mike. And I'm sure you love this conversation. And all our viewers, all the future leaders will get something new and unique to learn today. So thank you so much, Mike, for this spotlight.
Thank you and salam, namaste, dhanyawad, shukriya, shukran. Thank you all there in my beloved India. All of you are in my thoughts, in my prayers. Every day, I think about whenever I see a call coming from 9-1, I get very excited. Whenever I see a text or a call from +91, I get excited. And every day I watch some of the Bollywood videos, and I read the Hindu, I watch WION. I'm a big fan of punk. The lady reads the news on WION. Very interesting. Upadhyay Sharma, Palki Upadhyay Sharma. And so much, is happening in India. I'm so sad with the deaths from the COVID. And I ask all the people of India, please get your vaccine. Please maintain safe distancing. Please wear your mask. Do not throw caution to the wind. Do not go out unless you have to. And I hope that, with God's blessings, we can all get out of this bad patch. But remember, we are all connected in this wheel of humanity. So whatever random deed, act of kindness that we can do for our less fortunate brothers and sisters, let us do it whilst we still have good health and strength. Being your brother's keeper is so important. None of us, I can say, has not been touched by this Wuhan virus, and this Wuhan virus, for whatever it is, needs to be exposed, and The world needs to understand no man is an island. We live now in an interdependent and hyper interconnected community. You know, there are billions of devices which Manoj has spoken about, all connected. So none of us can say we are excluded. So it takes a collective, global, humanitarian effort to make the world a better place. Every human being we must show love, compassion, and care for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah.